Welcome to Not So New News, where we discover what is hidden in newspapers from 100 years ago. Today's article comes from the town of Whitesburg and appeared in Letcher County's oldest newspaper, the Mountain Eagle. Volume 2, Number 19, dated January 7th, 1909. The headline of the paper reads, "Friends, get ready now to pay for the Eagle at court." Mr. Merchant, let the Eagle advertise your business. Rates reasonable. Mr. Merchant, let us do your job printing. We guarantee satisfaction. This reading is from the writings done in 1909. These views are from that time period and do not necessarily reflect the modern views of Kentucky Tennessee living nor its narrator. However, we feel that all historical documents must be preserved for the future and strive not to change one word of the readings. However, if we feel that the readings are too controversial in both political or religious standing, we will either silently put up the article for viewing or will direct everyone where it can be found online. Thank you for your understanding. Extra notation. During the December editions of the Mountain Eagle, we have come across a controversy about whether or not a woman should be educated. Please remember, this happened back in 1909 and is no longer a controversial subject, as men and women are both granted the same educations today. However, we will be airing both sides as to the arguments that they gave during this debate at that time. Educational. Several new facts in the controversy, which our readers will be glad to find out. By W. J. Stanifer, Pound, Virginia. Being a constant reader of the Eagle, I have noticed the controversy as to the education of girls with considerable interest. And believing this most vital subject will ever prove interesting, I write to you a short article. I certainly believe in education for both boys and girls, and that their education should be equal in every respect, with perhaps the exception of manual training and business. Even in manual training, they should have the most thorough instruction in all branches that pertain to domestic and household duties. In all the academic and classical branches, I believe the education of both sexes should be equal, for no woman can fully appreciate the aims and ambitions of her husband unless she is equally educated. Let a man marry a woman who is his inferior in education, and misunderstanding is almost sure to result. Besides, education gives a better understanding of nature, a fuller appreciation of the beauty in nature, a broader view of life as a whole. It increases the capacity for enjoyment of the things that are good in this world, and enables us to shun the things that are evil. For it is only through knowledge of good and bad that we can separate them and accept the good and reject the bad. I believe that the inculcation of high and noble ideas is, or should be, the primary aim of every institution of learning in the United States. Let every teacher, every school official, make this of prime importance. Let it be impressed upon the mind of every teacher and every patron that a prime subject of education is not stuff the brain full of facts and figures, but to produce citizens of the highest moral character, combined with intelligence, and when this result has not been obtained, education has failed of its purpose entirely. What we want is a citizenship that is intelligent and of high moral character, and we must have it if we are to maintain the priceless heritage bequeathed to us by our forefathers, the independence of the great American Republic, and the liberties of the people that constitute it. There are strong tendencies towards imperialism and monarchy in this great republic today, and if our schools do not or cannot change this dangerous trend into other and safer channels, it will result sooner or later in the destruction of our most cherished institutions. And if our women are not educated, the process perhaps be much slower, for the mother and the wife are the most potent factors in forming of character. If our girls grow up into womanhood without the refining influence of education, how can we expect their children to make refined and intelligent men and women? Now, young girls and women, remember that we are not living in the medieval age, when the women were but household slaves, but in enlightened and progressive 20th century, where the women are occupying positions of the highest responsibility. We have women lawyers, doctors, and officers of various kinds, in fact, that they are now engaged in nearly every profession and trade known to mankind. So do not let yourself be deluded into the belief that women's sole sphere is in the house. Wake up to the importance of education, and do not spend your younger years in chasing that delusive phantom, pleasure. But make every use of every moment in study and improvement. Cultivate your mind and prepare to enjoy life in a fuller measure than you can possibly gain by mere gratification of the animal passions. Prepare to be wives of men, not wives of mere ignorant degenerates whose sole pleasure is the gratification of their animal passions, and whose greatest ambition is to be a good gambler or drunkard. Now, let us all put our shoulder to the wheel. Let us all stand firmly for advancement and progress, not for degeneracy and ignorance. Let us give our best efforts for the uplifting and the betterment of the human race, and I am sure we will reap a rich reward in the consciousness of duty well done and a feeling of safety for the welfare of future generations and the safety of their liberties. Commissioner's Sale. J. H. Frazier, plaintiff, versus R. O. Bashir, etc., defendant, and R. O. Bashir's plaintiff versus J. H. Frazier, defendant, equity. By virtue of a judgment and order of sale of the Letcher Circuit Court, rendered at its September term, 1908, and also by virtue of another judgment of said court, rendered at its November term, 1893, in the above styled action. I shall proceed to offer for sale to the highest and best bidder at public auction, at the courthouse door in Whitesburg, Kentucky, on January 11th, 1909, at 1 o'clock, or thereabout, on a credit of 6 months, the following described property, to wit: said property lies in the town of Whitesburg, Kentucky, and is bound on the north side of Main Street, on the west by Minerva Bashir's lot, on the south side by North Fork of the Kentucky River, on the east side by lots of J. P. Mars and J. H. Frazier. For the purchase price, and purchaser will be required to execute bond with the approved security having the force and effect of a judgment, and a lien will be reserved on the property until all the purchase price is paid, and bearing the legal interest from the date until paid. Bidders will be required to comply promptly with these terms. J. W. Hale, C.L.C.C. County Clerk's Notice. That all deeds, mortgages, etc., filed for the record in the Letcher County Court Clerk's Office are now of record, and all persons who have such papers will please call and get the same on or before January 11th, 1909, or else I must collect as the law directs in such cases. Respectfully, Andrew J. Sturgill, C.L.C.C. This concludes today's reading of the January 7th, 1909 Mountain Eagle. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for your continued support as we bring to you the history of the Appalachian Mountains.